Hello, I'm Ann Sabatier, co-founder of FoRB Women's Alliance. I'm glad to join you for this important conference, So Freedom. What I'd like to share about today is international religious freedom and how it unites diverse voices against global persecution. I'm going to be sharing several points, and there will be a handout either distributed now or after this brief talk. You know, the world is a fascinating mosaic of cultures, races, and customs that form this rich tapestry of humanity. And the tapestry, woven together by threads of history, tradition, and our own individual experiences, paints this picture of a very diverse global society. People of different faiths, ethnicities, and cultures mingle together like never before. So diversity is very rich, diversity is strong, and it should never be threatening. Unfortunately, persecution on account of religion or belief confronts every community somewhere in the world, and it is an increasing trend. Promoting international religious freedom requires all of us to embrace diversity, to join our voices for good, to counter hate messages, to provide messages of peace, and to protect human rights. What's at stake if we do not? Well, I ask you one question. Who will protect your right to freedom of religion or belief if you do not protect the rights of others? So, how can we strengthen our alliance, our bond, our broad coalition to face this daunting challenge of increasing trend of religious discrimination and persecution? I'd like to share a few points with you. First, let's stand together in support of the inherent and equal dignity of all people. You can maintain distinct theological differences, identities, and views, including on religious practices and convictions. You can be fully committed for us standing together in support of the inherent dignity of all people, and you can still maintain your identity. This does not mean that you are compromising. It means we are just standing together and respecting each other with a civility. Get to know your neighbors. Build relationships across faiths. You can build bridges by getting to know people of different faiths, someone before you might need their help or support. You don't have to be a clergy, a religious scholar, a part of an advocacy organization, or even a community organizer to build bridges. Next, acknowledge your religious differences and let's have open conversations about them. Can we not agree to disagree? But that does not mean disrespect. Disagree does not mean disrespect. Always respect others' religions or beliefs. Let's listen, and then let's uplift the voices of the marginalized groups in your community. Share stories. Learn from others and amplify their voices. Religious and traditional leaders in particular often have a platform in their communities, no matter how big or small, to uplift voices that inspire change and encourage our communities to listen. One thing I will say, if you're going to listen and then share stories or amplify, make sure you always have permission to share their story. Here's a premise. You always want to do no harm. So if it puts them in jeopardy, or some kind of security risk or legal risk, then find another story or mask their identity. But always get their permission. That's part of respect. Let's partner with unexpected allies. What can you do to help educate those outside your religious community? An especially impactful way to do this is for faith leaders of different ideological traditions, leanings, and even locations come together. They produce joint statements, joint appearances, videos, meetings, collaborations, such as today. Today, sitting there in your meeting, you have Nigerian government officials, US State Department embassy officials, you have religious leaders, you have business leaders, you have NGO leaders, and these are all allies. I would say, look around the room. Who's missing? Are there business leaders there? Have you thought of the unexpected ally in this journey? Part of this too is partnering is collaboration. And one thing I want to share with you, prejudice and injustice are embedded in our social structure at a community and national level, no matter how hard we try. So interreligious collaboration and a whole of society approach is necessary to unite diverse communities. Therefore, let's make sure that we bring together and encourage interfaith harmony and mutual respect. Let's do activities. These may be privately organized, cross-faith discussion groups, government organized advisory councils to facilitate multi-faith engagement. We all talk about collaboration, but what I've seen over many years, it's a wonderful ideal. It's really difficult to execute. So consider collaboration in a way where you have multiple people at the table and they all have an opportunity to share and contribute, not one partner who is dominating the other when you bring the diverse communities together. This is something we can all agree on. Encourage more tolerant communities through education. And in particular, let's focus on the next generation. Let's talk and teach and share with them about human rights and pluralism, and then let them lead the way forward. There's a need to educate, to harness education's power to prepare people, future leaders, students, to coexist in this multi-ethnic, multi-religious world we live in. So part of that is recognizing the similarities and differences in beliefs, rituals, and values across various faiths. And that knowledge can help promote tolerance, respect, and empathy, and foster harmonious coexistence. You know, children are not inherently biased. Structural and institutional bias starts to take hold when we're very young, through both conscious and unconscious biases taught to them through the media, through family, through social messaging. And so be sure to start discussions on human dignity early on. Also, if you look around the world, and it's also holding true a little bit in Nigeria, who's leading the way on protests? It's often the youth. And it's important, particularly for you and your country, that they learn about nonviolent resistance movements so they can become a resource and actors in their own right towards creating peaceful responses to injustice and threats to their and all religious freedom. Then Let's encourage our others in our community to speak out against intolerance and persecution. All religions and faiths embrace the importance of caring for others. All positive change starts at the grassroots level, where you are sitting today, or in the communities, the local communities all around Nigeria, which is why, and up to now, places of worship or gathering for faith meetings has been so central to social justice movements around the world. Make sure that your community is welcoming. One great way is through bystander intervention. This is a strategy that allies use to recognize a potentially harmful situation or interaction and respond in a way that can create a positive outcome. It's an effective way to de-escalate many types of potentially incendiary situations. It is a proactive versus a reactive response to violence and injustice. Also, not only speak out in the bystander intervention, but what can you do also to try to prevent incidents of hate, discrimination, and violence? You can take a wide variety of steps, ranging from education, as I've just spoken, advocacy efforts, sharing resources that can enhance the physical security of your village or places of worship and other community institutions. And many of these steps can be taken by multi-faith coalitions, which present opportunities to deepen bonds. We know that hate crimes and tremendous violence happens on a daily basis based on beliefs or someone's background or and lack of disrespect for human dignity. So report hate crimes, organize or join efforts to educate your community about the importance of reporting. And very central to that is accurate, consistent data to support the violence prevention measures, including appropriate responses. We have stories, but do we have data that can back it up? So government officials, so other government allies, so reporters, journalists in the media, so the judicial legal system can make some positive forward actions on this. Stories are not enough. We need data, and it needs to be accurate and consistent. Again, collaborate with government for institutional change. As I mentioned, religious leaders are often the most respected in a local community, and historically have worked to bridge the gap in mutual understanding. So it's important that they work together to create policies that protect freedom of religion and religious minorities. This is very difficult. Often, not just because you have different political beliefs, but you have different faith traditions, and they cloud and crowd one another out and try to put up a barrier. So whether you start with one ally on the community local government council, it may not be the governor, it may not be the president of the country, maybe it is. Start with a small group, one or two allies, earn their trust, and then work together to build momentum. Institutional change is the long view. It's the long game. It doesn't come easy, but that does not mean it is not part of our goal and our strategy. Because we want to protect future generations, not just our children, but their children. Carefully craft your message and campaign. Public messaging can positively impact communities and address the systemic causes of religious discrimination. at a community and at a national level. Consider taking some media training, which can help your message break through the clutter, help your campaign have what we call stickiness. Introduce a reporter or a media contact you know to members of other faith traditions. Host a briefing on them, on countering faith and hate speech and crimes. Increase your media literacy to ensure you're sharing accurate information from reliable sources for your faith community. We lead often from the heart when we tell the stories, and we should. But you have very little time to capture someone's attention. So always think, if I had 30 seconds, what's the message I want to leave them with? You can't tell the whole story in 30 seconds, but what you can do is make them curious and point them somewhere where they can go deeper. They can see the facts, they can see the videos, the photos. So often, a campaign's primary contribution in the awareness raising is make them curious and point them somewhere. I know I've said a lot today, and they're all related. As I said, there will be a handout that shows these. This is not the 50,000 vote level. This is the practical level, very pragmatic. In closing, I'd just like to say, you're sitting here today demonstrates that you feel the weight of the injustice and the persecution suffered by those in your local community and state and all across Nigeria. Today, I hope you are encouraged and motivated by my remarks, the remarks of other speakers, and the conversations you will have with those around you in your small groups. We can all contribute. What is my plea? Do something. Thank you.